It is Wednesday, October 21st, 2020, and this is an update on current events in China. We have four pieces of information to cover today, including, courtesy of Yahoo, China to Sweden, drop Huawei ban or face fallout. Also, courtesy of the Star, think tank uses UN Security Council appearance to appeal for Canadians' release. We also have a question of the day and some new tweets. Let's hop into it. And a brief caveat before today's video. While researching for these reports, I come across information from various sources. Just because I decide to include a piece of information doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with it. I like to let you decide for yourself. Moving on. And this comes courtesy of Yahoo News, China to Sweden, drop Huawei ban or face fallout. A day after Sweden banned Huawei from its 5G networks comes the response from Beijing, and a foreign ministry spokesman made it sound like a not-so-veiled threat. The Swedish side should in an objective and fair way correct the mistaken decision and avoid bringing about negative impacts on business and trade between China and Sweden and Swedish companies' operations in China. Swedish regulators on Tuesday, October 20th, banned the use of gear from Huawei and fellow Chinese firm ZTE. The officials said that they followed advice from the country's armed forces and security service. Now it's local champion Ericsson that may have the most to worry about. The telecom gear maker has deals to supply all three of China's main mobile networks. These could be in jeopardy if China retaliates. On Wednesday, October 21st, the firm reported better than expected operating earnings. They jumped to about $1 billion for the latest quarter, well above analyst expectations. But the firm cited China's 5G network rollout as the big driver for that. Ericsson executives will be watching very closely to see what Beijing does next. And we most certainly will too. 5G is exciting and terrifying all at the same time, right? I keep thinking back to a Bill Burr stand-up special when he said after 1995 there was no need to advance technology any further. And part of me agrees with that. Let's move along. And this comes courtesy of the Star. Think tank uses UN Security Council appearance to appeal for Canadians' release. The president of a prominent think tank used a high-level UN Security Council meeting Tuesday to appeal for the release of former Canadian diplomat Michael Kovrig, who has been held by Beijing for nearly 2 years as part of a diplomatic dispute with Canada. At the end of his briefing on security in the Persian Gulf, International Crisis Group President Robert Malley told the council meeting attended by China's foreign minister that his organization strives to be an impartial conflict resolution organization, and its staff tries to understand the perspective of all parties. That's what our colleague Michael Kovrig was doing in his work on China's foreign policy, Malley said. Kovrig is the International Crisis Group's senior advisor on Northeast Asia. He and fellow Canadian Michael Spavor were arrested separately nearly 2 years ago in apparent retaliation for Canadian authorities having detained Huawei executive Ming Wanzhou, who was wanted in the U.S. on fraud charges. Ming, who has denied any wrongdoing, is now facing possible extradition to the U.S., while Chinese authorities have indicted the two Michaels on what many observers believe are trumped-up spying charges. Malley said it wasn't the time or place to discuss the former Canadian diplomat's case, but I cannot conclude without appealing to the Chinese authorities, if they are listening, to understand the mission he was pursuing. End his almost 2-year detention, allow him at long last to be reunited with his loved ones, and continue his work toward a more peaceful world. The participants at the virtual council meeting were shown on the screen, and when Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi heard China mentioned, he looked up and paid attention, but Wang made no mention of Kovrig in his own speech to the council. German Ambassador Christopher Hexen did, echoing Malley's appeal to liberate Michael Kovrig. Thank you for watching this video. If you're finding it informative, please consider giving the channel a subscribe. Google sued by DOJ in antitrust case over search dominance. And this is the question of the day. Do you think Google is too powerful? And if so, how would you resolve the situation? And our last piece of information is a series of interesting tweets. And I think that's a good place to wrap up today's video. I hope that you found it informative, and check back soon for more content.